I have a treat for you today. I went to the library with my good old granddad, me and Grandpappy. I don't call him Grandpappy, I don't know why I said that, never mind. Oh, ignore me. Anyway, I picked up like 40 books, it feels like, because I had to carry them all, so my arms are like super sore. I'm super strong now, but anyway, went to the library. I've raved about the Saltspring Public Library before, but like literally its kids section has the best selection of kids books I have ever seen. And they're all so good. So I get there and I start looking at the shelves. I started the A's, and by the time I got to the D authors, my bag was full. I couldn't fit anything else in. So I was like, you know what? This will just have to do. I'll start at D's next time and go from there. So I have A to D Saltspring Library highlights for you. So these aren't in any particular order, but I picked up, here's the first book I picked up. It wasn't the first book, but here is the first one I'm introducing you to. Land of Stories number 3, A Grim Warning. I read the first 2 of them. Really enjoyed the first one. Gave it almost like almost a 5-star rating. Got to the second book, and I really disliked it. I was so shocked by how bad it was. So I'm excited for this one, just to see whether it picks up again, because I really enjoyed the first one. I got really invested in it, and then got to the second one and everything went out the window, and I was like, well, it ended on a note where it could be something different. It could get better again. So we'll see. It's a huge tome. Quite intimidating, actually. I don't really read books that are generally this big anymore, so seeing this is like, oh my god, heart attack. But I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see if Chris Colfer, the author, can get his stuff together. Next up is a Kate DiCamillo book, and I have no idea what it's about. I've not even looked inside of it yet. Oh, it's great. It's got illustrations. Look, it's got a pig. It's great. But I love Kate DiCamillo because one of my favorite books is written by her. Actually 2 really good books. Flora and Ulysses, which I've done a review on. You can go check that out. And Because of Winn-Dixie, which I think I also have done a review on. So take your pick. Anyway, I loved both of them, especially Because of Winn-Dixie. I read that one. That was one of my childhood reads, and I used to just, oh, I loved that book. Anyway, so I'm excited for this one because I think she's a very skilled author. She can write some really powerful things. So it's interesting because this is probably a bit of a different genre than Because of Winn-Dixie. Winn-Dixie is quite heartfelt, whereas this one seems lighter and more cartoony, just a little bit funnier. So we will see how that goes. And then I got one of these Dear Canada books, which have been around forever, but I've never actually read one of them. So they're all in diary style. They're all these girls who write diaries about historical events set in Canada. I think there's a Dear America version too, but obviously the Canada version appeals to me more just because I am Canadian and therefore it's more relevant for me. So this one is about the War of 1812, and it's the diary of a young girl who lived in Niagara in Upper Canada. And it looks nice. I mean, it's very different to the kind of thing that I would normally read, so I'm excited for that. I like reading new things, especially when I'm in a reading slump, which I'm sort of just trying to come out of now. I like reading interesting things that maybe I don't always get to, so that one shall be good. And then I picked up the Spiderwick Chronicles number 1. I have Spiderwick Chronicles number 2, which I got from my friend Annika, and it's in French, so I was really stoked to read that so I could keep my French up. But I don't remember what happened in number 1. Therefore, I had to, obviously, get number 1 out of the library, and I'll have to read that before I read number 2. So yes! Then, up, I have another Canadian book. It's called The Attack of the Toga Gang. And this one is, I think, about some kids in school who start a poetry club. And then magical things happen or whatever. I don't really care about the magical things right now. I'm more intrigued by the idea of starting a poetry club, especially a 13-year-old boy. 13-year-old Harry Fieldstone and his friends start a poetry club at school. like, that in itself is a really interesting idea. So that, and that combined with the fact that it's a Canadian author, see it's got the little Canadian author sticker right there, I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally gonna read that. I love Canadian authors, I love interesting ideas, I love poetry, and the fact that kids are reading poetry at a younger and younger age I think is awesome. So I'm interested to see what kind of poetry they read, what the poetry club looks like. Less interested in maybe the toga part. I'm not really intrigued by the whole adventure that they're going to go on. More interested to see the setting and sort of the atmosphere of this poetry club. Then I picked up Seraphina and the Black Cloak, which I actually started to listen to on audiobook, and then stopped listening to it for a while, and then it expired, and yeah. But in a nutshell, it's about a girl and her father who live in the basement of some sort of mansion, and the father has a job there, fixing boilers and stuff like that. I'm not quite sure what he does really, but he lives in the basement, and they don't know this. The owners of the house don't know that he's living in their basement. And the girl, Seraphina, she catches rats, she runs around, she does whatever, and then of course a mystery happens. And she has to go up into the mansion and talk to the people there, and it seemed really interesting and good. And the cover is gorgeous, just gorgeous. Like, look at that. Beautiful. So I'm really excited for this one. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for all these books. This is going to be a super long, rambling video, by the way. I'm so sorry for all of you who are going to watch the whole thing. I'm not, it's fun. Anyway, this one is called Flying with a Broken Wing, another Canadian author, so I'm in love. This one I think is set in Halifax, so that's way out on the other side of the world, practically. But I'm excited for it, because it's also a little bit different than the stuff I normally read. It's a historical book set right after World War II, I believe. Yeah, her father was a casualty of the Second World War. So it's about this girl who is blind and living with her aunt. And so it says here, when Canny learns about a school for blind and visually impaired children, she becomes convinced a new life is waiting for her in Halifax. But how will she ever convince her aunt to let her go? So it's all about this girl who, with a disability, who is trying to find her way in the world. And I'm really excited for this. I read another historical World War II-ish drama book called The War That Saved My Life, Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, I think her name was, and it was excellent. It was so good. I just adored it. So I'm excited for this one, in hopes that it is just as good as Kimberly Brubaker Bradley's book. And then I've got The Eco Diary of Kiran Singer. This is all about one child's experiences of nature in a particular bog. And it's all poetry, so it's like a diary of poems, basically. So that'll be a really quick, nice read. It spans a week of what this kid sees and experiences in this particular bog, and it frames it in the light of environmental protection. So that's totally beautiful. I just saw it and I was like, oh, I'm in love. I'm in love. So excited for that. This one I'm not really sure why I picked up. It's called Rules. Never Glue Your Friends to Chairs. It's a teeny little book, and I feel like I don't read enough. Man, it only costs $5 to buy this thing? Jeepers. Kids' books are so cheap. Anyway, slight digression. It has occurred to me that I don't read enough younger kids' books. I focus more on the 9 to 12-ish age range, and I do enjoy 6 to 8 and 3 to 5 and whatever. But I mostly end up reading 9 to 12s and reviewing those. So I was like, I'm going to pick up this smaller one, even though it looks a little bit lamer. But I will try it. It'll take me all of 20 minutes to read, so yay! And then I got this one. I'm interested in this one because it's called The Jumbies, and it looks kind of creepy. It's about some monsters that somebody meets. I don't think the story is as important as maybe the feel of the story. That's what I'd more be interested in. The whole atmosphere, because it's creepy. The cover looks creepy and just sort of edgy and scary and frightening. So I'm hoping for that out of this book, almost like a horror book. It won't be that scary because it's a kid's book, but I'd love to see something just a little bit different, right? Not just your run-of-the-mill fantasy, blah, blah, blah. So there's that one. And then I have The Chicken Squad, The First Misadventure. Now, these were really popular when I was at Indigo, and I never read them. They're about chicks who are detectives. So again, a bit of a different vein for me. I don't read a lot of mysteries, so could be good. And then, just on another side note, oops, let me collect myself here. On another side note, I've become vegan, so I got this book out called Becoming Vegan. All about how to keep your, oh god, this looks intimidating, how to keep your protein levels high and get enough calcium without drinking milk, stuff like that. So that should be good. And then I picked up 2 free things. They had a little box outside the library that was like free books. The first one I picked up was a Geronimo Stilton. Whoa, it's in totally rough shape. Like, oh my god, it's so beat up. But it's one of the newer ones with like the hardback. And yeah, so I haven't read any of the new ones, but I'm excited for it. It's like one of the medieval-y, yeah, there's like trolls and dragons and then good old Geronimo. So I'm excited for this one. And then, last but not least, was this free audiobook. I have no idea what it's about. It looks beautiful. It's got flowers. It's called 100 Flowers. I believe the author is Chinese, and it's a historical book set in the 60s, or the 50s and 60s, when communism was there and rampant and whatnot. So I'm excited for this audiobook. There's not even a disc missing. So like, it was free. Free, totally, I'm there. Anyway, I'm sorry this video was so long. That is all I collected from the library. Just a note, I don't always read everything that I get from the library. It's more of a brainstorming, like, oh my god, look at all these books I could read. So it's basically like having a list of TBRs to be reviewed, for those of you who don't know the booktube lingo. Anyway, so chances are I won't read all of these in one go, but now that I have a video dedicated to them, I shall do my best to read them eventually. So stay tuned for all my reviews, and I'll see you guys next time. Love you all. Bye.